Yep. What's up, everybody? And welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About It. I'm your host, Twist Johnson. So grab your drinks or your substance or stay sober minded, if you will. And with that being said, let's start the show. If you're feeling my vibe, like, share, and subscribe. I will leave all the handles down in the description box below of this episode. And before we get into this nice young lady inside of the screen with me, you know what we like to do here. We got the current events that nobody asked for. So, today's current events is coming from wikihow.com. It's saying that studies show that phones are the second most leading factor to breakups or separations in long term couples, marriages, or newly relationships. So, they have an exercise that they would like couples to do, whether you're married or you're starting out or, you just want to test the temperatures. So it says the phone exercise. There are three ways or more that you can conduct this, depending on your relationship style. This is to establish more of a trust and build confidence in your partner where you might feel that there are curiosities that there no longer exist. So, between the two, if you are having worries or you feeling like it might be some type of cheating or infidelity, each person leaves the phone. This is one way. Each person leaves one on the phone, leaves the phone on the table, and lets the other answer whenever it rings. For younger couples, they suggest text messaging to where every time a notification comes into text, or if you don't have notifications coming in for text, what you can do is every 10 to 15 minutes, open your phone if you have a passcode and allow your partner to screen the text. The next one is for couples who might not have that luxury of staying around the house or being around each other too long, to let them hold your phone for 2 hours or through the day, and they can screen and answer the phone whenever it answers or so. So, studies that was conducted suggest that the couples ages 21 to 30 had a hard time exchanging phones. Surprisingly, the women, 30% of women hesitated while only 20% of men declined. Ages 30 to 55, 56% of married and long-term couples had no issues. In fact, they already had practices of allowing each other to answer phone calls and text for them. And um, only 12% of this age group failed to um, participate in this exercise. So, if you're a couple out there and you have those traumas or you have those phone anxieties, wiccahow.com suggests this exercise. I don't know how that will work for people out there. There's other ways that you can cheat these days in 2024, but you let me know. You figure it out if you want to take that exercise with your partner. So, without further ado, this is a treat. It's exciting. We got one of our favorite supporters, actually, and now we get to have her. So, without further ado, what's your name, where you from, and a little bit about yourself?
Hi. Well, first of all, Twist, thank you so much for having me as a guest on your show. I'm super, super excited. I know that my clients who've been on your show have really enjoyed the conversation, and hopefully, we'll send you a lot more. My name's Irene, and I'm an international best-selling author. I'm a speaker. I'm the founder of The Power of Writing, and I'm also a publishing and publicity consultant. I'm also author of my best-selling ebook. It's called Podcast Power: The Zipping It Up Guide to Land Podcast and Radio Interviews Fast. Over the years, I've done a lot of volunteer work, all the way back from when I spent 4 years as a volunteer on the disaster action team for the American Red Cross, all the way through to my many years with Connect Life, sharing the wonders of being an organ donor, among other things. And during my free time, I'm a little bit on the wild side. I have gone whitewater rafting on Class 5 rapids, skydiving, surfed the crazy waves in Hawaii, climbed a couple of mountains. And so that's kind of like my passion, fun thing to do. So yeah.
Uh,
And I'm also a mother of two amazing, beautiful girls.
Amen. Amen. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Irene, she's actually been behind the scenes connected with me and helping me find business entrepreneurs and people out there who want to put themselves in. So, all off air, I've already done it, but I want to do it for the world too. So, thank you. You didn't look for anything. You were just being a good person and helping someone out. And I want to thank you. There's a lot of people out there that don't get those flowers. I appreciate you so much because you don't know me from a hole in the wall, and you just extended your hand and helped me. That's what I would do for others out there as well.
Well, I don't know.
Yes.
I liked
So
you. I checked
thank
out your show, and I thought this looks like a lot of fun. You were very responsive, and yeah, so sent you more people. So
you. And for those of y'all who don't know, we both from New York. We New Yorkers.
that's right.
New
Yes,
Yorkers. Yes.
sir. Born and raised.
So let's jump into it. Okay, so you've been on a few channels. You've been on CBS News, Ticket News, Buffalo Business First, American Institute, and ABC Channel 7 News. How does that feel having such an impact that you wound up on these broadcasts?
Well, that's a really, really great question. And I've been on a lot of podcasts as well. Obviously, I can't share them all. I just started getting into it again. What I like to tell my audience, and I speak about this topic a lot, on the secret to getting featured in the media. And a lot of people think it's about them and their accolades and what you've done. And that's really not the case. I mean, it helps. It really helps if you're an author. Obviously, the media loves hearing about new books and things like that. But the very first time I was on television, one of the first time I was on television, actually the first two times I was on television was related to giving blood, and then as my volunteer work on the disaster action team. Started like really getting in the media. It was after I started my blog, I published my first book. And so I was promoting my book and my website and things like that. So I was using it to, for SEO, for, to rank higher in the Google search and to drive more traffic to my website, my offers, my newsletter and things like that. But again, the first time that I was asked to be featured on television, I was volunteer for the disaster action team. And the president of the Buffalo chapter reached out to me and said, "Hey, would you be willing to be a spokesperson for us? We're trying to recruit more volunteers and talk about your work life balance and how you're able to squeeze volunteering into your schedule every week." And so I got to go there, show up in my suit. It's in the middle of the day. And at the time, I was a marketing consultant at Kiss 98.5, the number one hit music station, my favorite radio station. Very fun job. And believe it or not, that little 10-minute interview helped me get clients for my business. And all I talked about was how I was a volunteer, a little bit about where I worked and things like that. I can't tell you how many potential clients I had when I walked into their office. How many people saw that interview and said, "Wow, Irene, I didn't know that you were a volunteer for the American Red Cross. That's so cool. You know what? I think I have some advertising dollars for you this month." So it really did help me get clients. And then I had the opportunity to be in Business First. And everybody reads Business First. I was a subscriber for years. And that too, I can't even tell you. And I thought it was going to be just a tiny little article, right? They interviewed me about how I use my car for work. And at the time I was driving from business to business to business. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have Zoom back then. Okay. I had to literally go through the phone book and call people to schedule appointments. I had to drive and cold call, leave my business card. You want to talk about hard sales, right? I hear Sarah Blakely talk a lot about that, doing the, door-to-door sales, the same thing. It's like cold calling. And after that article, when the morning it came out, I run to the door to grab my newspaper and I opened up a 2-page spread in the middle of the magazine. I was like, whoa. So I walk into the office and my boss comes up to me and he's like laughing and he goes, "Hey, I saw you in Business First." He goes, "You don't even drive that much." He goes, "I know you play racquetball during the day," which was true, But he also knew I worked my butt off. I worked nights, I worked weekends. So, I mean, if I took an hour to go play racquetball, he didn't care what we did. Hit your numbers. That's it. Bring in the clients. can I tell you, he started like sending me some big accounts because, like, the big accounts, like Nabisco, that was one of them, Shades Performing Arts Theaters, like those are ones that come, that they already have that they'll like give you. So it increased my income, so getting me featured in the media. Even when I was a realtor, I took every opportunity, somebody said, hey, do you want to get interviewed? I was like, yeah, why not? It's great visibility for you. So I love sharing those stories about the power of the media. And not only are you leveraging other people's audiences, their warm audiences, when somebody's saying, hey, you got to work with Irene, right? Or got to work with Dominic or whatever, they already know, like, and trust you because they listen to your podcast, they listen to your show. So when they're, telling people, hey, you got to get her book or this and that, it's way more credible. It's not a cold audience, it's a warm audience.
Right.
And then you leverage that credibility. It's called the halo effect. When other people are interviewing you as the expert, it just makes you more credible. And so it
Right.
works to help really grow your business.
What do you, for the anxieties of putting yourself out there inside of the world and having these interviews and being a public speaker, like what are some anxieties that you feel people have as far as like putting themselves out there?
That too is an excellent question. And we got to tap back on that news, how you started the segment at some point too, and talk a little bit about that. I love that article you shared today. I think that was really
Oh yeah, I do
powerful.
this on this
It's
page.
too bad Dominic or Raymond, like one of my relationship coach clients, wasn't on this particular episode because they would have dove right into that. Um, but I only have personal stories, so I had to go
Right.
there, right? No. Um, I'm sorry, I totally lost it. What your question was? Oh, anxieties over it. Yes, people are afraid of so many things. What if nobody listened? Who am I to be interviewed in the media? Um, things like that. How am I going to say something embarrassing? How am I going to look? And so there are a couple of things that you can do to prepare for an interview, or even to prepare yourself to, because I cannot tell you how many of my clients and friends and colleagues, how they pass up opportunities because when they say the fortune is in the follow-up, it's true.
Mhm.
It's all in the follow-up. You have to follow up. You have to follow up. And I have gotten invited to speak on so many summits, events, podcasts, and I just got busy or I forgot. And if you don't follow up, you're missing out on the opportunity. So you really
Right.
do have to follow up. And there are times you're like, oh yeah, I've said, I mean, I was interviewed a couple of months ago on the law enforcement podcast. And this is another example. I shared a scary stalker situation from when I first joined the online world, right? And it was part of why I took a hiatus from the media. I changed my niche, things like that. Went more to a faceless social media profile, things like that. And so again, it had nothing to do with writing a book or for getting in the media, but it was an opportunity for me to get in front of a lot of people. And John had been bugging me for over a year to be a guest on his podcast because I told him what I could talk about. He's like, Reed, that's such an important topic. You know,
Yes.
you know, so many people, suffer this. It happens to so many people, and so important to know that you don't have to be famous to be stalked and things like that. And I was able to share some tips and things. So it's a really, really important topic to share with the world. Ago, I went on another podcast and I shared a near-death experience I had when I was 9. Again, nothing to do with business. But here's the thing. If you show up, and yeah, it would be great if there are millions of downloads or even, thousands of downloads, right? Or you even get one high paying client from that interview, right? But what if that interview only gets a couple of listens, but one person who listens really gets something out of that interview? And if you're able
Mhm.
to help just one person, isn't it worth it? And I want to
Yeah.
share really astounding of that. We were talking about that on that podcast I was sharing. It's called the Soul Inspired Podcast
Mhm.
with Joe Browski. And he was talking about how he he performed one night at this event, this bar or something like that. And he said it was kind of a crappy performance. He wasn't feeling good. He almost didn't show up. People showed it really wasn't a great performance or something like that. And somebody reached out to him and said, that night that I heard your music and I heard you perform, I was going to go home and kill myself. And that song that you sang made me change my mind. Can you imagine? One person.
Yes.
One person. And that was what he said. It's like, he's excited. He's finally up to 4,000 downloads, with his podcast, and 4,000 subscribers after 1 year and this and that. And he said, that's all exciting. He said, but that one person who came to me and said, your music helped me, get better, and, dramatic decision like that. It's those people and those stories and that feedback that really encourages you and inspires you to keep going, because it can be scary. And you're in the limelight.
Absolutely. Like me and a music artist, his name is Reality. He was on the show and he was talking about the stresses of music and how sometimes you want to give up. And it just takes that one cosign, and it doesn't even have to be from a famous person. He was sharing that he was on a train and someone just from a different country was just giving him respect and giving him flowers and telling him how much they appreciated his music. And that was enough for him to continue going. Like I myself, just being a person who's now being a podcaster and being show host, sometimes you do wonder, is my message getting across? We're human. So you want to know, like, if are you putting out material that people are relatable to? Is your material effective? And sometimes you might feel like you're not getting the message across or getting the results that you want, but it always takes that one person that steps to you and they say, "Hey, I really appreciate those episodes. I appreciate the information that you're putting out there. Keep going." And that's good for the spirit. That's good for the mental health. It takes away those traumas of being judged negatively and not being able to like put out in the forefront like the best image possible, whatever image you're trying to put. So it's making a difference. You can't please the world, but you could please someone in it.
Even just what you shared at the beginning of the episode, you could have saved somebody's marriage
Right.
today,
Yes.
by our when it's released. You know what I mean? Like you could really, help some relationships out there. Maybe they're fighting about it, and they're like, see, honey, see, Twist
Hmm.
said,
Yes,
you
yes.
know.
Those covered events that nobody asked for, like I always say, I feel like they're very effective. No one's checking for them, but they're relatable. Shopping, relationship tips, something that might have happened in someone's community that they weren't aware of. I feel like that segment, I'm gonna continue that. Which is, let's lead into the Red Cross. The Red Cross, the disaster team. Like, what is that like?
Would do is, because I worked mostly days, evenings and things like that. But every Thursday night, and it was very deliberate because back then it was must see TV Thursday night,
Hmm.
and so there was the Friends lineup, Seinfeld, ER. Thursday night, I wanted to stay home anyway, right? So I wouldn't go out drinking with my friends. Like I can't tell you how many times my friends. Sometimes I had a little beeper back then. Like I had beepers. That's how I'm dating myself now. And so I did have my little beeper. So sometimes I'd go out and have, dinner, with someone, close by or whatever. And then just go home and chill for the night. But, I had to be sober because I had to drive there. I'd have to go there, pick up the Red Cross truck because we never
Hmm.
took the trucks. We always took the truck to a scene. I had my little Red Cross cap, my jacket, my boots. So typically, the disasters I dealt with were inner city house fires. And so these people weren't like us, where if something happened, we could just, pull out the credit card and go to a hotel for the night, right? They had
Right.
nowhere to go. Like they literally, I only got called when the family had nowhere to go. So I would come, and the first thing I would do is get them situated in a safe, warm place, hotel room. We had all these different vouchers and different hotels that we worked with. Made
Hmm.
sure they had hot, fresh breakfast in the morning at somewhere really close by, walking distance. Transportation, if they needed it, I'd get them all safely into a cab and get them safely to the hotel. And clean clothes, because a lot of times they're all just like standing there freezing, sometimes sitting in a police car in their pajamas because they had to, leave the house so quickly. Mostly they were in the middle of the night, these situations. Otherwise, they could just send them right to the office, or there was like office people that could help them. So I was an on-call person overnight. And even like I'd get calls at 4 in the morning and I still had to be at work at 7 a.m. So there were nights where I was like, days where I was really dragging. But it was very, very rewarding. I can't tell you like how many people, would hug me. Like I remember this dad like getting his kids into the cab and they're just piling in, and he was just like took my hand and said, "Thank you so much." Like he didn't know what he would have done. Where's he going to take his family? Like he didn't have any money. And
Right.
once the fire chief would clear the home or apartment, that it was safe for us to go through, I would do an assessment of what they had and what they lost, so that the office could then further assist them getting them a new home, and replacing all of the things they lost, their
Hmm.
furniture, TV, things like that. So then I would do that, and I did it for 4 years. And there were some very challenging situations. One, a young boy had been left home alone while his drug dealer dad was not around, and he started a fire. So there were some situations, watching Child Protective Services come, and that those were tough, but all they were really mostly rewarding.
Right. Working in those entities, that could be taking a toll on the professional's mental health as well. Seeing
Mm,
young individuals like that being pyromaniacs, putting fires, and
yeah.
having disciplinary parents that might not understand the difference between punishment and discipline, coming from broken households. I know us as providers, um, we're like passionate about what we do. So, which will lead into my next question is it's more of a statement. I want to hear like your thoughts on it. Is they say that the helping profession, caring for others is passion for peanuts. In the helping industry like Red Cross. What do you feel about that statement? The helping profession is passion for peanuts. I guess there's no real compensation.
I was a volunteer, so I didn't get paid anything. So, and
Hmm.
I've done things like I mentored a pregnant woman from a refugee from Burma. I did Connect Life. I just, but I had a good job and I worked full time. Any kids then or anything, not even a mortgage yet or anything. And just, so um, I just, I've just always felt like it, not I don't want to say just sales and marketing, but it never, my jobs like never felt completely fulfilling for me. Like there was always something more that I wanted to do, more that I wanted to give. And people do it in different ways. They volunteer at their church, or they get involved in other communities or things like that. And for me, this was my way of giving back and feeling more fulfilled with my purpose, and just helping the community and giving back. Those people who, passion for peanuts, you call it, they have a choice. They chose that profession. They did it because they wanted to. Maybe sometimes they gripe about it, or they're not happy with what they're paid, or things like that. But again, if you're not happy with your situation, you can do something about it. So it's a choice. They decided that. And who says that? I'm trying to think. There's this quote. Um, oh, it's in one of my favorite books. Oh my gosh, I have it right here. The
Okay.
Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. And you can even listen to it on YouTube. It's free. It's like a 30-minute talk. And he says, you might say that you're not where you are, or your situation, even if it's a dire one, and you don't want to be there. But the truth is, you're there because you really do want to be there for whatever reason, whether it's fear or something holding you back from doing something else or doing something more. You're exactly where you want to be for whatever reason. And if you're not happy, you have to do something about it. And you become what you think about. So if you're going to dwell on, being underpaid, or, whatever, or you have a choice. You have a choice. Come to, excuse me, a point in my life where I thought, when I stopped using my time to give back and volunteer, and I started writing books and I started speaking, and I realized, and I had a very comfortable life. I was a successful realtor for 10 years, lived in a beautiful suburban 2-story colonial home, a new car every 3 years, 4 oceanfront vacations a year. But there was just something. And then after my sister died, it was like a wake up call for me. And I just realized, you know what? I could impact way more people if I focus on getting my message out there and making more money, and help and impact more people in so many different ways, versus using a little bit of my time, to directly. And so that was when I completely changed careers. I changed, everything that I was doing. And it's not easy. It's
No.
not an easy choice to go from being comfortable to uncomfortable, and the feast and famine of starting a coaching business. And it's tough starting, especially midlife. It's not easy, but I'll tell you, Twist, it's worth it.
Right. I mean, yeah, I remember when I was younger, I knew I wanted to work in an office. Not really understanding what an office is. Like quick story about it is that when I was about 11 years old, I used to work for the summer youth, and I was working for the play program where we just play with the kids outside. And I wound up getting into a dispute with another pair that was working, and as a punishment, which actually turned out to be great. The supervisor put me inside of the office to work with them for the day, and I quickly fell in love with the environment. Like just filing and putting copies on the machine, answering emails, talking on the phone, being a receptionist. And I liked the way I was dressing, and I was like, you know what? I want to work in an office setting. This is what I want to do. So I wound up actually transferring to that department, which they didn't have a program for it, but they flexed it for me. And then after that, once I started learning more, it wasn't just about the office; it was the environment of just feeling like important. How you dress is how you
Oh,
feel. So having a blazer on and a shirt and a tie, like I felt like a business person. And I also figured out quickly that I'm a person that likes to hear people. I have to listen, but I also like to give critical advice, positive, constructive criticism, or suggestions. So that's when it wrapped into all is that, like, you know what, I think I want to be in a helping profession. And that's how it all started. But I remember being at the dentist one day, and he asked what I did, and this is where Passion for Peanuts a little bit came, and I told him what I was doing at that time. I was a substance abuse counselor, and he says, "Well, how much is the cap?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know." And he was like, is there any money? I don't think you get rich in that profession. I don't know what he was getting at from it, but it was kind of like a little bit. I'm young at this point, and I was like, well, I enjoy it, but you know, I didn't say anything about a dentistry. I'm pretty sure they make big bucks, but I know over the years, I don't see that you could probably get rich from it, but I do know that it does have its benefits as far as like the emotions and also with compensation. You can be a shrink, you can be a therapist. I don't want to get off. We're talking about you though.
thank you for your service. I mean, that's a
Oh, of
really,
course.
I can imagine, very challenging job. And I understand now why you asked that question about,
Mhm.
passion for peanuts. But if you wake up happy every day,
Absolutely.
and that's the other thing in that book that I just told you about.
Mhm.
He says, first you have to define the definition of success. And the way
Mm-hmm.
he shares it is somebody who intentionally sets a goal and achieves it. And when he wrote this book, there were still housewives, women weren't, really completely in the workforce at all yet, right? And it could be that mother and wife who's doing a great job, and that's exactly what she wants to do. The gas
Mm-hmm.
station owner who opened his gas station because that's what he wanted. The teacher who doesn't make a lot of money but wakes up happy and fulfilled, students. So
Mm-hmm.
success isn't always defined by money. It's
Right.
defined by your happiness and your a goal that you set out to do. So
Right.
you were successful in what you were doing, but that dentist chose a profession because he wanted to make a lot of money. And he
Mm-hmm.
knew that dentists made good money. Now that we have the online world and we have authors and speakers getting paid $20,000 for a 45-minute talk, right? Doctors, they're not the cream of the crop anymore when it comes to, unless you're like a very specialized surgeon or orthodontist or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're not really making a lot of money compared to, the rest of the,
Right.
you know,
And like when I'm talking to some of the youth, I like to give them this information as far as what do they want to do in life. And even when I'm talking to my peers or just someone who's inside of the occupation world, you can have a career and it still be a job. It's it's what you're compassionate about. So my question is always, do you have a job or do you have a career? Because you can have a career, you can be a doctor, you can be a lawyer, a book author, and you might not even feel fulfilled. But you need some compensation, and it's what you know. So that means that that's a job. If you dread going to it, you dread waking up to it, you feel overwhelmed, then you have a job. A career is something that you look forward to. You wake up happy that you're going. You can have, as long as you have the passion. I don't believe it's peanuts. I believe everything has is fulfillments.
I
Why do you
agree with you 100%.
why do
That's
you do
really nice.
thank you. So why do you do what you do?
Why do I do what I do? Well, it really just kind of happened. I became an author. My first book was a weight loss book, which I wrote because it was something I knew I could help people with, because I've always been, if I want to get ready for an event or something, I have a system that I use to get red carpet ready, black tie ready, beach ready for a vacation, whatever. And I knew that it worked. I knew that it could potentially help a lot of people. And I know when you lose that 5 to 10 pounds, you just feel so much better about yourself. You
Yeah.
feel confident. I just wanted people to feel good. I want to make people happy. But also, my sister, who had passed away of breast cancer at way too young of an age, at 46, she was a little bit overweight. I was kind of always the skinnier one, and I've fluctuated too. I've had kids. I had to lose the baby weight. Came right off with the first one. The second took me 2 years to get back to my favorite jeans. But man, when you do, you just feel so much good about yourself, and it changes your health. If you're even 10% overweight, you have a much higher risk of high blood pressure, having to take medications, diabetes, lower libido. I mean, so many health issues and
Right.
cancer. So, deadly diseases, heart disease, stroke. I don't know for sure if my sister was a little bit, and she tried yoga, she tried doing other things. She walked a lot. She's never a runner like me, but I know that it can be life changing. And so I wrote that first book because I really wanted to make an impact. And so I started writing articles and sharing little health and fitness tips. Well, then the kind of weird stalker thing happened, and I didn't want to be in social media in skimpy workout clothes. It wasn't for me. And as I wrote a book, more people were interested in, oh my God, I want to write a book. They were more interested in how I wrote a book than they were in my weight loss program. And so I just kind of shifted, and I started. I put together a free guide, 10 easy steps to start writing your book today, started building my newsletter, my email list, and I just kind of went in a different direction.
Mhm.
But at the time, also, getting in the media was one of my superpowers. So I just come out with my first book. I was promoting my lead magnet and sharing, health tips. I was doing a couple different things. And I was at a mastermind in LA. I flew out to LA and I was in this room with these incredible people. Talk about imposter syndrome. Like I just had my little blog, my little book. And these like were brick and mortars, 7, 8 figure business owners, in this room. Really cool, wonderful, wonderful experience. And we went around the room and we all shared a superpower, something that we're really good at that other people in the room might be interested in learning from us. At the time, I was going on anywhere from, I don't know, 2 to 5 interviews a week. And a
Mhm.
handful of people said, hey, you know what? I need to learn how to do that. So it started with an email. I sent them an email and told them, I gave them my notes, told them how to do it, how to pitch, what to write in the subject line. And it wasn't until years later when COVID hit that I turned it into my best selling ebook. And now
Mhm.
it's helped so many people land media interviews and just life changing for their businesses, for their coaching businesses, for, selling and promoting their offers and things like that. And so that for me is rewarding.
Right.
When I have a client call me and say, Irene, I just got booked on 3 podcasts and I just got a new client, like, that lights me up.
Mhm.
I love helping other people get results. And
Mhm.
so it keeps me going.
And that goes back to Wiz, why it's not peanuts. It's the
Exactly.
person. Like, like for me and your relationship as it unraveled, you just answered an ad that I had out, and you have a clientele, you have a business, and you recognize without recognizing that this is someone who's starting out, and they are like showing that they have a drive. You being a person that thrives off of acts of kindness, and you just decided that you were going to help out. Even with the clients, I've met people that you worked with. We've had great conversations, and it's to where it's like what you're saying. They're excited. They still have that energy and that glow of getting new clients and getting the information out and just using their expertise and their experience to connect with other individuals who want to help other individuals out there. So also relationships with your business partners and your peers, that's very important and valuable as well, because these are the people you work with day in and day out. Yes, we have strong personalities that might clash, but as long as you have people that you can work with, I feel like the work is effective, and the team environment definitely it definitely what not governs, it strengthens the message and where you're trying to go. Speaking of power, you said power, you have the podcast power, right? So how did that come about?
Pick that name. Well, I'm a direct response copywriter. I learned copywriting and I'm verified through the prestigious AWAI. And I've mastered the art of persuasive writing that sells. If you don't know what copywriting is, it's writing copy that persuades someone to take an action. I took my first writing course back in 2015 before I wrote my first book and started my blog. And then I went to a conference at AWAI, and I was in this room with 400 other people. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm where I'm supposed to be. I'm with other writers. And I learned from some of, the top marketers in the world. Dan Kennedy was there. Clayton Makepeace, the late, great Clayton Makepeace spoke. Incredible event. So many amazing people. And it was great. So research, writing good copy is all about to connect with the audience, with your potential client or buyer or customer. And so I did the research. Really, I thought it was powerful, podcast power. And
Hmm.
somebody else had written a book. I don't know if I discovered it after I wrote it or not. I don't know if you know this, but you cannot copyright or trademark the title of a book. That's why there's so many books with the same or similar book titles. And
Hmm.
there was a book out there called Podcast Power, but it was about starting a podcast and nothing to do with mine. And I never really planned to publish the book. It's really more of a course. It's really a course in the form of an ebook. And I just liked it. I was thinking about media power. I thought about media magic, and I don't know, podcast power, the power of getting on podcast and sharing your message. And it just really resonated. And then obviously with the subtitle, it tells you exactly what it's about. So it leaves no questions. So the Zipping It Up Guide to Land podcast and radio interviews fast. And the zipping it up part comes from my first book, if I may share, so that people get it. So my first book is called Zipping It Up: How to Lose 5 Pounds Fast and Look Great in That Little Black Dress. So I have the website. It's under construction. Not sure what to do with it.
Okay.
But the whole zipping it up, to me, first of all, like zipping up your dress and having the confidence, but also like zipping it up the success ladder. And so it's kind of a little spin. And then, of course, you should always write books you should think of at least threes, like a trilogy or a series. So I can have the zipping it up, how to write a book. I can have the zipping it up, how to lose, how to, get ready for your wedding. There's so many things I can do with that. And it was just kind of catchy and I liked it. And yeah, so that's where that came from.
I've asked some other established authors and book writers. Let me ask you. Everyone can write a book, but should everyone write a book?
Should everyone write a book? Only if you want to. Well, I don't know. My kids say to me when I talk about it, because I get really excited about it, oh, you should write a book. That's a book idea. That's a book idea. And they say, Mom, not everyone wants to write a book. And I'm like, I know. Certain people, though, definitely should write a book. And if you want to get in the media and you want to get more media interviews and you want to attract clients that way, then you definitely should write a book. And it's not as hard as, it's really not as hard as it seems. It doesn't have to be, and your first book doesn't have to be like your New York Times best-selling book. And most likely your first book isn't going to be your best book. It just has to be your first. And it doesn't have to be long. To self-publish a book on Amazon, it only has to be 25 pages. 25 pages. My best-selling ebook is 17 pages, and it has helped people start new businesses and go from 0 to 7 figures in less than a year, right? So as long as it solves a problem or it does its purpose and why you're writing the book, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be some big, crazy, big book. And again, if it just helps one person, isn't it worth writing? So I've got I've got over a dozen 5-star reviews on Amazon. I stopped promoting it because I changed my niche.
Okay.
But my friend Charlotte, I gave her my book. She was over one day and she dropped 2 dress sizes in 6 weeks. And she was getting ready for a trip to China. She was so excited. She was buying new clothes at the store. She sent me pictures of her new dress in the dressing room. Like that just lit me up, So if your book only helps one person, isn't it worth to just write the darn thing? And when you say you're an author, people just look at you different. They do, because it really is a commitment. You have to make a decision. You have to put a little time in. You have to put a little effort in. Or you could use AI, but I mean, that's just ridiculous. And I don't even want to go there talking about AI. But again, this is only 41 pages. And one of my favorite books, The Strangest Secrets, this is still one of the top selling business books today. And I mean, he wrote it in I don't know, I'm exaggerating, 1897 or something. But it's only 42 pages. The only thing is, if you want it to have the title of the book on the spine, if you want it in the libraries and the bookstores, then it has to be 100 pages if you want that. So that's something to consider. But again, it doesn't have to be some big novel or anything like that. So.
All right, we got some of your signature topics. So we coming closer to the end of the show. The fastest way to build your brand. Give us the scoop.
We're just talking about that.
We're
Write a
just
book.
talking about the
Write
books.
a
Okay.
book. The two things: write a book and get featured in the media. Nothing builds credibility faster than writing a book, because it really shows that you are the go-to expert in your industry, and having other people interview you and they're asking you questions and you're in your zone, you're in your element, you're sharing your personal experiences on why you're an expert on this subject. It builds that credibility and that know, like, and trust factor that you get from the interviews, and to get people to convert prospects into clients and customers who pay, stay, and then refer you to all of your friends.
Mm,
So those are
mm.
the two fastest ways to build your brand.
Now, what if, because I know, talking to other authors and then speaking to people who want to create a book, what if you don't have any acronyms? Not acronyms. Let's say
Accolades.
yeah,
Accolades.
like
Yeah,
those
you meant
the
accolades.
PhDs, the doctors.
Hmm.
You don't have any of those behind your name when you are making this book. How would you make the book appealing and want people to gravitate towards it without any of those certifications or qualifications, if you will?
Well, first of all, download my free guide on my website, 10 Easy Steps to Start Writing Your Book Today. And I tell you
That's
exactly what to do. It's all about the research. And the funny thing is, so when I was doing the research for my first book, I don't have a degree in nutrition. My degrees are both in business. My background is sales and marketing. But I started running in high school, cross country team, and a runner walker ever since. And I over the years have bought every health and fitness magazine there is: Self, Prevention, Women's Health, Health Magazine. I would, and even now, I'm on the newsletters. I get the e-letters. I go to their websites. I'm always looking at the latest health tips, how to look younger. I'm passionate about it.
hmm
And when I started doing research and buying all these different weight loss books and reading them, and I bought them over the years, you'd be surprised. Like, I'm like, wow, I know so much more than I thought.
right.
And again, I don't have a background, and I love sharing this story too. So, Rachel, do you know who Rachel Ray is? The huge
Yes.
business mogul. She had her own 30-minute meals,
hmm
sold millions of cookbooks. She's got her own cookware line, had her own Food Network TV show. She has no culinary background whatsoever. She didn't go to culinary school. She doesn't have any type of degree or any accreditations or anything like that have anything to do with cooking. You know what she did? In fact, she started out working at Macy's at the candy counter. The candy counter. Then she was promoted to manager of the gourmet food department. You know what? She wrote a book. She wrote a cookbook. She started her own little like show, and then she started going on the radio and the media and promoting her book. And one day she was live on the radio, and someone from the Food Network just so happened to be stuck in rush hour traffic and listened to her interview and liked
Mm.
her personality. Couple phone calls, boom, boom, boom,
Boom.
overnight hit sensation. No,
And we got right to it.
no culinary background. A book, the media, you never know who's listening. One person, the right person, was listening to that interview. So that is
Yes,
how
I never knew that.
Yep.
I always knew Rachel Ray to be like a top chef. Like that's what I knew
I would have
her
some fancy New York restaurant or went to culinary school. Who
as.
knew? Nope. She wrote a book.
That is a tip. I don't know. I might write a book.
There you go. It's interesting too. So I just caught on the news the other day because I like to watch, I try not to watch the news because it can be depressing, but because of what I do, because I'm a PR expert and I'm always looking for what's trending for my clients and things like that, getting them featured in the media. So I turned on the news the other day, and I don't know, Good Morning America, one of the shows, I don't remember. And the Barefoot Contessa she just wrote her memoir. She has sold over 10 million copies of her cookbooks.
Mm.
And she just wrote a memoir. And I didn't know as much of her story as I now do. So it was really quite interesting. But what I did know about her was that she worked at the White House. She worked at the White House. I can't remember what she did, some type of data analyst or something, really big job, right? She was miserable, miserable. And she saw this little ad. They showed a picture of it. It was so cool because I know that she's seen a picture of the ad she saw. And there was this gourmet food store for sale in the Hamptons. And she said to her husband, Jeffrey, she said, honey, I want to buy this store. I want to quit my job and I want to move there. And I want to buy this gourmet food store. She knew
Mm-hmm.
nothing about writing cookbooks or anything. She was working at the White House, you know,
Right.
and she bought this gourmet food store, wrote a cookbook, and she said she'd always been cooking for fun, for passion. Again, no
Mm-hmm.
culinary background. And look at her now, the barefoot
That-
princess. So there you go, folks. If you have a passion, or if you have a beautiful garden and you love gardening, you could write a book about gardening because you are an expert. You know how to do it. You've been doing it for years. It's something you can teach. Every single one of us has some type of passion or knowledge or an expertise, something that you can teach other people. And here's the real secret twist. People think you have to be 10 steps ahead. You only
Mhm.
have to be a couple steps ahead of the person that you're teaching. And you just lift as you climb because they don't know what you know. So if you want to write a
Exactly.
course or write a book or start a podcast or anything, you only have to be a couple steps ahead. And sometimes people are more inclined to work with you because they don't find you as intimidating. Because here's the other thing, people need to know that they can do it.
Hmm.
They look at somebody like Tony Robbins, right? And that's Tony Robbins. Like, I can't do what Tony Robbins does. Who am I, right? But if they work
Hmm.
with a coach who's a couple steps ahead of them, who maybe just changed careers, they'll be like, okay, wow, well, if she can do it and look where she is now, I know I can do this too.
Right. There you have it. We got it right there. All right. So we get into the closing. What the $1 million question is? How much does your services cost?
Ooh, well, it's a very excellent question. Now, my best-selling ebook, it's really more of a course. It's only 47 bucks. And it's not cheap though. It's a very ridiculously low investment for something that can help you get a big result. I mean, how many clients do you need to get? Right, one. When Don bought the book, my client Don Thornton, the one I told you about, he went from zero to crushing $100,000 months by after leveraging the media. He
Hmm.
bought the book. He had just started this brand new business. Now, this isn't his first rodeo. He's been in business a long time. Very smart, sharp businessman. So again, the results aren't typical. But he bought the book. He got booked on 3 podcasts in 10 days. He sold 3 of his trusts with his brand new business. He made $7,500. He was so excited. He's like, all from such a small investment. He's like, Irene, you're a genius. He was so excited. A few weeks later, the following month, he sent me a picture of a $40,000 check. He just had his first $40,000 month. And then I kept seeing on his Instagram, he kept going on more podcasts and more shows, and then the Forbes Riley show, and then Forbes, and then bigger shows. And so it's like a snowball effect. But you got to put in the work. You have to do the work. As far as my done for you services, I just recently, just a few months ago, started doing a done for you services PR. And I do customized packages. So you'd have to pay for my first consultation, which is only $100. It's like nothing. It's $97. I do a full consultation, see what you need help with the most. And then if we think we're a good fit for each other, only then would I offer you my different consulting packages. And, or if you want the done for you service, then because of based on the questions I ask and what you're looking to do, I have 3 different levels of packages that I customize to meet your needs and what you're looking for.
There you go. All right. That wraps it up. I want to say thank you, Irene. And we'll continue conversating because that's what we do. I'm glad to have you on the show. I know that there's a lot of information that someone's going to get out there. So we're going to wrap this. And yeah,
Oh, well,
I'm
thank
excited.
you.
I'm excited.
Thank you so much. And if anybody does want to reach out to me, can LinkedIn send me a DM or Instagram, email list, and then you just have to hit reply to respond.
And I'm gonna leave all your handles and how to connect with you down in the description, so you don't even have to worry about it.
Yeah. Well, it has been such a pleasure, Twist. I love how you opened up the show. Great share that is about really communicating with your partner and building that trust. Because believe me, I've definitely been there in relationships where, you kind of wonder, who's he texting right now, or jealousy's an evil creature. But yeah, that's so important to be able to communicate and trust. So that was a wonderful, wonderful opening. And I had so
Amen.
much fun being a guest. Thank you so much,
Yes.
Twist.
No problem. And I hope to have you up again. I'm sure the supporters would love to see you again. So we'll
Thank
see.
you.
With that being said, that concludes another episode of Let's Talk About It. Don't forget you can tune in for every episode on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and any other platforms that's surrounding for podcasts. With that being said, I'll miss y'all. Peace.